Number 1. The land of flatlands and a sinful reputation. At first glance, Denmark's geography seems almost deceptively simple. As the smallest and most southerly of the Nordic countries, it's a nation defined by its lack of mountains. The highest natural point, Yiding Skovhøj, reaches a modest 172.5 meters. This is a land of rolling plains, gentle hills, and an astonishingly long coastline of over 7,300 kilometers that weaves around more than 400 islands. No matter where you are in Denmark, you are never more than about 50 kilometers from the sea, a fact that has shaped its history, its economy, and its very soul. The country is primarily made up of the Jutland Peninsula, which connects to Germany, and a collection of islands, the largest of which is Zealand, home to the capital, Copenhagen. With a temperate climate, the winters can be frosty and gray, while summers are typically mild and bright, but this gentle landscape belies a history that is anything but. This is the homeland of the Vikings, warriors whose very name was once synonymous with sin and terror across Europe. Was their sin simply a matter of perspective, a brutal but necessary expansion from a land with limited resources? This historical duality, peaceful farmlands that launched fearsome raids, is the first clue to understanding Denmark's complex character. But the sinful label isn't just about ancient history. Modern Denmark has consistently pushed boundaries that other nations wouldn't dare to touch. In 1969, it became the first country in the world to legalize pornography, a move that sent shockwaves through the conservative world at the time. Decades later, in 1989, it was the first to recognize same-sex unions. Prostitution was decriminalized in 1999, and while operating a brothel remains illegal, the approach is one of harm reduction rather than moral condemnation. To many outsiders, these policies paint a picture of a society steeped in vice, a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. But to the Danes, this is simply pragmatism. It's an expression of a core belief in individual freedom, personal responsibility, and a deep-seated distrust of legislating morality. They see these not as sins, but as the removal of sin from acts between consenting adults. This raises a fascinating question. Is a society that refuses to label certain acts as sinful inherently more sinful, or just more honest? With a population of just under 6 million people, Denmark is a tight-knit society built on trust. But it's also a society that demands a lot from its citizens. As we'll soon see, the price for this liberal paradise and social safety net is paid through taxes that would make most people's eyes water. Is this the ultimate sin in a capitalist world, the willing surrender of personal wealth for the collective good? The contradictions are just beginning. What do you think makes a country sinful? Its history, its laws, or something else entirely? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're ready to explore the shocking truths about Denmark, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to James Baker Discovery Global, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Number 2. The Viking Legacy Savage Sinners or Savvy Founders. To understand Denmark, you must first understand the Vikings. For centuries, their name echoed across Europe as a byword for terror. From the 8th to the 11th century, these Scandinavian seafarers were the ultimate sinners of the medieval world. Pagan warriors who raided monasteries, pillaged cities, and colonized vast territories with brutal efficiency. Their longships, marvels of engineering, allowed them to strike with lightning speed, from the coasts of England and Ireland to the rivers of Russia and the shores of the Mediterranean. They originated from what is now Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, driven by a mix of overpopulation, political instability, and a thirst for adventure and wealth. But to label them merely as savage pirates is to fall for a one-dimensional caricature written by their victims, primarily Christian monks, who were horrified by their pagan beliefs. The reality is far more complex. The Vikings were not just raiders, they were master traders, explorers, and settlers. They established vast trade networks, connecting Constantinople with the British Isles. They were skilled craftsmen, poets who composed epic sagas, and lawmakers who established their own legal codes in the lands they conquered, a system known as the Danelaw in England. They were the first Europeans to set foot in North America, with explorer Leif Erikson landing in what is now Canada nearly 500 years before Columbus. This wasn't just mindless violence, it was a dynamic expansion that profoundly reshaped Europe. This Viking heritage is not just a distant memory in Denmark, it's embedded in the national DNA. You see it in the Danes' deep connection to the sea, their pragmatic and direct nature, and their spirit of adventure. The Viking desire to explore and adapt can be seen in modern Danish companies that have conquered the world, from the shipping giant Maersk to the playful creativity of Lego. The fierce independence of Viking chieftains echoes in Denmark's modern skepticism of overarching supranational authority, reflected in its sometimes hesitant relationship with the European Union. Even the English language bears the indelible mark of these Danish sinners. Words like sky, egg, window, and even the weekdays Thursday, Thorsday, and Friday, Frigsday, are direct linguistic imports from Old Norse, brought by Danish Vikings. Their influence is so profound that they didn't just take from the cultures they encountered, they fundamentally changed them. So were the Vikings sinners? By the standards of their time, their raids were brutal, but no more so than the wars waged by other contemporary kingdoms. They were a force of disruptive change, upending old orders and forging new connections. In many ways, they were the architects of the modern world, and their legacy in Denmark is not one of shame, but of a complex and fierce pride. It is a reminder that history is rarely a simple story of good versus evil, and that the sins of one era can become the foundational myths of the next. Number 3. The contradiction of hygge. A nation of happiness or a society of pressure. If there is one Danish word that has conquered the world, it is hygge, pronounced hygge. It's a concept that defies direct translation, but is often described as a feeling of cozy contentment, conviviality, and well-being. It's the warmth of candlelight on a dark winter's night, the comfort of a shared meal with friends, the simple pleasure of a hot cup of coffee and a pastry. Hygge is the art of creating intimacy and cherishing the simple moments. It's an integral part of the Danish cultural identity, a psychological shelter from the long, cold Scandinavian winters. This philosophy of life is often credited as the secret behind Denmark's remarkable happiness statistics. For years, the country has consistently ranked at or near the top of the World Happiness Report. The Danes themselves report high levels of life satisfaction, trust in their government and fellow citizens, and a strong sense of community. On the surface, it seems like a modern utopia, a society that has perfected the art of living well, a place so content it's almost sinfully perfect. But this is where the mind-blowing contradiction emerges. Beneath the serene surface of hygge and happiness lies a darker, more complex reality. Denmark also has one of the highest rates of antidepressant use in the world. For years, it is ranked among the top OECD countries for consumption of these medications. This has led many sociologists and psychologists to question the true nature of Danish happiness. Is it a genuine, deep-seated contentment, or is there a powerful social pressure to appear happy? Some critics argue that in a society that so highly values contentment and social harmony, expressing negative emotions like sadness, anxiety, or dissatisfaction can be seen as a social failure. The culture of hygge, while wonderful, might also create an unspoken expectation to always be cozy, positive, and content. When individuals inevitably fall short of this ideal, they may feel isolated or believe something is wrong with them, leading them to seek medical solutions for what are often normal human emotions. Could it be that the sin in this paradise is not sadness itself, but the inability to express it openly? This paradox challenges our entire understanding of happiness. The Danish model, supported by a strong welfare state, provides an incredible safety net. People don't have to worry about the costs of healthcare or education, and there's a strong sense of security. This removes many of the external stressors that cause unhappiness in other societies. However, it may also shift the focus inward. When all external needs are met, any remaining unhappiness can feel like a personal failing rather than a product of circumstance. This internal pressure, this tyranny of hygge, could be the hidden cost of living in one of the world's most comfortable societies. It's a fascinating and somewhat unsettling thought. What happens when a country becomes so good at creating happiness that it forgets how to deal with sadness? Number 4. The golden cage of the welfare state. Imagine a country where university education is free, where healthcare, from a routine checkup to major surgery, costs you nothing out of pocket, where the government provides generous unemployment benefits if you lose your job, ensuring you can maintain a dignified life while you search for a new one. This is the reality of the Danish welfare model, one of the most comprehensive and ambitious social systems in the world. To many, it sounds like paradise. But this paradise comes at a staggering price, one that many would consider a cardinal sin in the Church of Capitalism: taxes. The Danes are among the highest taxed people on earth. Income tax rates can climb as high as 55%, and on top of that, there's a standard 25% value-added tax, VAT, on most goods and services. You earn $1, and the government might take more than half. You buy a coffee, and a quarter of the price is tax. It's a level of taxation that is almost unimaginable in many other Western countries. So why isn't there a constant state of rebellion? The mind-blowing fact is that, for the most part, the Danes are happy to pay their taxes. The Danish word for tax, skat, also means treasure or darling. This isn't a coincidence, it reflects a fundamental societal agreement. Danes don't see taxes as a punishment or a burden, but as an investment in their collective well-being. They are paying for a high-quality society, one characterized by trust, equality, and security. They are buying their way out of the anxieties that plague so many other nations. However, this system has a profound and often unseen cultural side effect, encapsulated in a concept known as janteloven, or the law of Jante. While not an actual law, it's a deeply ingrained set of social norms that acts as a powerful regulator of behavior. The core principle of janteloven is, you are not to think you are anyone special. It's a cultural code that discourages individual grandstanding, arrogance, and flaunting of wealth. In Denmark, overt displays of success are often met with suspicion, not admiration. Humility and conformity are valued above all else. This creates a fascinating tension. The welfare state is designed to lift everyone up, but the culture of janteloven works to keep everyone on the same level. Is this a sin against ambition and individual achievement? Some critics argue that it stifles innovation and encourages mediocrity. Why strive to be extraordinary if society subtly punishes you for it? Entrepreneurs and high achievers sometimes speak of a tall poppy syndrome, where those who rise too high are cut down to size. This pressure to conform, to not be too different, can feel suffocating to some, creating a comfortable but constraining golden cage. The Danish model is a grand social experiment. It has succeeded in creating a society with remarkable equality and security. But it also raises profound questions about the balance between the collective and the individual. Can a society be both perfectly equal and truly free? For the Danes, the trade-off seems to be worth it, but it's a bargain that comes with a complex set of unwritten rules. Number 5. The Viking descendants, gender equality, and modern family. In a world still grappling with gender inequality, Denmark stands out as a beacon of progress. This is a nation where the old Viking spirit of shared responsibility seems to have evolved into a modern commitment to equality between men and women. The image of the stereotypical stoic, dominant male has been replaced by a reality that is far more nuanced, collaborative, and, to many outsiders, surprisingly different. Danish women are among the most empowered in the world. They are highly educated, well represented in the workforce and politics, and enjoy a level of economic and social independence that is still a distant dream in many countries. The focus on gender equality starts early, ingrained in the education system, and supported by a robust welfare state that makes it possible for women to pursue careers without having to sacrifice family life. Subsidized childcare is widely available and of high quality, and generous parental leave policies are the norm. But here's the truly mind-blowing part for many cultures. This leave isn't just for mothers. In Denmark, paternity leave is not just an option, it's a cultural expectation. It is common to see fathers or fadre pushing strollers through the parks of Copenhagen on a weekday afternoon, taking an active and equal role in the early stages of their children's lives. This isn't seen as babysitting or helping out, it's simply seen as parenting. This fundamental redefinition of fatherhood has had a profound impact on family dynamics and workplace culture. The sin of a man prioritizing family over his career doesn't exist here. In fact, refusing to take on an equal role at home might be the bigger social transgression. This egalitarian approach extends to relationships as well. Danish women are typically direct, independent, and expect to be treated as equals in a partnership. The traditional courtship rituals found elsewhere are often absent. A Danish woman is just as likely to initiate a date, propose a plan, or split the bill. This can be a culture shock for those accustomed to more defined gender roles. But in Denmark, it's simply the natural state of affairs. However, this progressive ideal is not without its complexities. Despite high rates of female employment and education, a gender pay gap, while smaller than in many other countries, still persists. Women are still underrepresented in the very top echelons of the corporate world, in CEO and board positions. Some argue that while society has successfully created a framework for equality, deep-seated, unconscious biases can still be a barrier. Furthermore, the immense social freedom and independence can sometimes lead to what some sociologists observe as a sense of detached individualism, where relationships are more fluid and traditional family structures are less common than in more conservative societies. Is it a sin to prioritize individual fulfillment to such a degree? For the Danes, it's simply the logical extension of a society built on freedom and equality for all. Number 6. The Danish language, a potato in the throat? Every country's soul is reflected in its language, and Denmark's is no exception. The Danish language, or dansk, is a North Germanic language, a direct descendant of the Old Norse spoken by the Vikings. On paper, it looks familiar to English speakers, sharing many cognates and a similar grammatical structure, which should make it easy to learn. Words like hus, house, bog, book, and man are instantly recognizable. But the moment a Dane begins to speak, any illusion of simplicity shatters. The Danish language is notoriously difficult to master for one primary reason: its pronunciation. It's often jokingly described by its Scandinavian neighbors as speaking with a potato in the throat. The language is characterized by a large number of vowel sounds, a tendency to swallow consonants, and a unique phonetic feature called the stud, a form of glottal stop that can completely change the meaning of a word. The discrepancy between the written and spoken forms is massive. A long, complicated-looking word might be reduced to a few mumbled, guttural sounds. For example, the street name Gothersgade is pronounced something like Goersgale. It's a language that often feels like a secret code, designed to keep outsiders guessing. This linguistic quirk has shaped the Danish communication style. Danes are often perceived as reserved or quiet, but this might be partly because their language is less phonetically expressive than, say, Italian or Spanish. There's a certain efficiency and economy to their speech. This is also a culture where silence is not necessarily awkward. Long pauses in conversation are normal, and don't need to be filled with small talk. Perhaps the most mind-blowing linguistic fact is what's missing. Danish, like other Scandinavian languages, has no word for please. This can be a major culture shock for visitors from countries where please and thank you are the cornerstones of politeness. It's not that the Danes are rude, they simply express politeness in different ways. They use tone of voice, context, and phrases like "Må jeg bede om," may I ask for, or simply by saying "tak," thank you, in advance. This directness can be misinterpreted as abruptness, but it stems from a culture that values sincerity and efficiency over flowery pleasantries. The potential sin of forgetting to say please is non-existent. In a globalized world, the Danes have adapted beautifully. The vast majority of Danes, especially the younger generations, speak impeccable English. This is a point of national pride and a practical necessity for a small country, with a major role in international trade. But when they speak to each other, they revert to their unique, challenging, and historically rich language, a daily reminder of their distinct cultural identity, a linguistic echo of their Viking past that has refused to be smoothed over by time. Number 7. Copenhagen's counter. Culture. The Sin City of Christiania. Copenhagen is a city of elegant contrasts. It's the home of royal palaces and sleek, minimalist design, a place where historic cobblestone streets meet world-class modern architecture. It's the city of the innocent Little Mermaid statue and the whimsical Tivoli Gardens. But nestled in the heart of this polished capital is a place that stands in stark, rebellious opposition to everything orderly and conventional. Freetown Christiania. For decades, this enclave has been Copenhagen's very own Sin City, a radical social experiment that continues to fascinate and polarize Denmark. Christiania's story begins in 1971. A group of hippies and anarchists squatted in an abandoned military barracks in the Christianshavn district, declaring the area an autonomous community, free from the Danish government. Their goal was to create a society based on collective ownership, consensus-based decision-making, and freedom from the materialistic pressures of the outside world. They established their own rules: no violence, no weapons, no hard drugs, and no cars. Over the years, this self-proclaimed free town evolved into a sprawling, vibrant neighborhood with a population of around 1,000 residents, complete with its own schools, workshops, cafés, and music venues. For most of its history, Christiania was internationally infamous for one thing: Pusher Street, also known as the Green Light District. Here, cannabis and hash were sold openly from permanent stalls, in flagrant violation of Danish law. For years, the government tolerated this open drug trade, with a sort of pragmatic resignation, viewing it as a way to contain the market in one area. To tourists, it was a mind-blowing spectacle, a real-life, Amsterdam-style coffee shop scene, but out in the open air. This was the sin of Christiania made manifest, a blatant rejection of state authority. However, this open market also attracted criminal gangs and violence, leading to increasing conflict with the police and within the community itself. In a dramatic turn of events in 2024, the residents of Christiania, in collaboration with the police, took matters into their own hands, physically digging up Pusher Street to permanently end the open trade. Visiting Christiania today is like stepping into another dimension. The area is a chaotic, creative explosion of graffiti-covered buildings, quirky homemade houses, and organic art installations. Photography is famously forbidden in certain areas to protect the residents' privacy. The atmosphere is a unique blend of laid-back hippie vibes and a slightly edgy, watchful undercurrent. It's the fourth largest tourist attraction in Copenhagen, drawing 500,000 visitors annually, who come to glimpse this alternative way of life. Christiania represents the ultimate Danish paradox. It exists within one of the most organized, high-trust, and law-abiding societies in the world, yet it was born from an act of illegal squatting and civil disobedience. The Danish government has had a long and complicated relationship with the free town, alternating between attempts to shut it down and pragmatic negotiations that have allowed it to survive. In 2012, the residents even collectively purchased the land, officially becoming legal landowners. Is Christiania a sinful stain on Copenhagen's reputation? Or is it the ultimate expression of Danish tolerance and individualism? Perhaps it's both a necessary counterbalance, a wild garden in a perfectly manicured city, reminding the Danes that even in the most orderly society, there must be a place for the untamable. Number 8. The kingdoms far, flung frontiers Greenland and the Faroe Islands. When you look at a map of Denmark, you see a small compact nation at the edge of Northern Europe. But this picture is deceptively incomplete. The full official name of the country is the Kingdom of Denmark, and this kingdom extends far beyond the shores of Jutland and the Danish Isles. It encompasses two vast, wild, and fiercely independent territories in the North Atlantic, Greenland and the Faroe Islands. These autonomous regions add a layer of mind-blowing complexity and scale to what seems like a tiny country. Let's start with Greenland. It is the world's largest island, a colossal landmass of ice and rock over 50 times the size of Denmark proper. Home to just under 57,000 people, mostly of Inuit heritage, it is one of the most sparsely populated places on Earth. While Denmark handles its foreign policy and defense, Greenland has its own parliament and government, the Naalakkersuisut, and enjoys extensive self-rule. The relationship is a complex post-colonial dance. Greenland was a Danish colony for centuries, and while it is now an equal partner in the kingdom, there is a strong and growing independence movement. The culture, language, and landscape of Greenland are a world away from Copenhagen. This is a land of towering icebergs, the ethereal glow of the northern lights, and ancient hunting traditions. The sins of colonialism cast a long shadow here, and the ongoing debate about sovereignty, resource rights, Greenland is rich in minerals, and national identity is a central theme in modern Greenlandic life. Then there are the Faroe Islands, an archipelago of 18 rugged, volcanic islands, located halfway between Norway and Iceland. With a population of about 54,000, the Faroese people have their own language, derived from Old Norse, and a culture that is deeply tied to the unforgiving sea. Like Greenland, the Faroe Islands have their own parliament and a high degree of self-government. They are famous for their dramatic landscapes, sheer cliffs plunging into the ocean, grass, roofed houses, and an abundance of puffins. The islands are notoriously treeless, a stark contrast to the forests of mainland Europe. The Faroes are also home to a highly controversial tradition that many outsiders view as a profound sin, the grindadrap, or whale drive. This centuries-old practice involves the communal hunting of pilot whales, where pods are driven into shallow bays and killed. To the Faroese, it is a sustainable, non-commercial tradition that provides food for the community and is a cornerstone of their cultural identity. To international animal rights activists, it is a barbaric slaughter. This clash of worldviews highlights the deep cultural divide that can exist even within a modern kingdom. Importing whale meat from the Faroe Islands into the EU, for instance, is illegal and can lead to imprisonment. Together, Greenland and the Faroe Islands transform the Kingdom of Denmark from a small European nation into a sprawling, transoceanic entity with a complex web of cultural, political, and historical ties. They are a reminder that beneath the surface of modern, homogeneous Denmark lies a far more diverse and challenging reality, a kingdom wrestling with its colonial past and navigating the future of its far-flung, fiercely proud peoples. Number 9. The Gospel of Simplicity, Danish Design and Architecture. In a world filled with clutter, complexity, and excess, Danish design stands as a powerful testament to the beauty of simplicity. It's a philosophy that has conquered the world, not through aggressive marketing, but through the quiet, confident appeal of its core principles: simplicity, functionality, and elegance. From the chair you sit on to the toys your children play with, Danish design has subtly shaped the aesthetic of modern life. This commitment to clean lines and practical beauty is not just a style, it's a reflection of the Danish national character. The golden age of Danish design began in the mid-20th century. Architects and designers like Arne Jacobsen, Hans Wegner, and Poul Henningsen became global icons. Their creations were revolutionary. Arne Jacobsen's egg and swan chairs, with their organic sculptural forms, are still considered masterpieces of modernist furniture. Poul Henningsen's pH lamps were designed with a scientific approach to light, creating a soft, glare-free ambiance that perfectly embodies the spirit of Hygge. These weren't just objects. They were solutions to everyday problems, designed to make life better, more comfortable, and more beautiful. To create something that was merely ornate, without purpose, would be seen as a kind of design sin. Perhaps the most globally recognized Danish design is also the most playful: Lego. The simple, interlocking plastic brick is a stroke of genius, a system of infinite creative possibilities built on a foundation of precision and quality. The Lego philosophy that the best play comes from a simple, versatile system is Danish design thinking in its purest form. It trusts the user's creativity rather than dictating the experience. This ethos extends into Danish architecture. It was once common for an architect to design not only the building but everything inside it, from the furniture to the cutlery. This holistic approach ensures a seamless harmony between form and function. The most famous Danish design building in the world, Jørgen Utzon's Sydney Opera House, is a testament to this ambitious vision, a structure of soaring concrete shells that became an icon of the 20th century. More recently, architects like Bjarke Ingels and his firm BIG have gained international acclaim for their witty and unconventional approach. A prime example is Amager Bakke in Copenhagen, a waste-to-energy plant with a year-round artificial ski slope on its roof, a brilliantly functional and playful solution to urban planning. At its heart, Danish design is democratic. While mid-century originals are now expensive collector's items, the principles of good, clean, functional design have trickled down into everyday products available to everyone. It's a belief that everyone, regardless of income, deserves to be surrounded by objects that are both beautiful and useful. In a world that often values more, Danish design offers a compelling alternative: the belief that better is more important than more. It's a quiet, minimalist gospel that has become one of Denmark's most powerful and enduring exports. Number 10. The New Nordic Revolution. More than just pickled herring. For a long time, Danish cuisine was one of Europe's best-kept secrets, often unfairly dismissed by outsiders as a bland landscape of pickled herring, boiled potatoes, and dense rye bread, rugbrød. While these traditional staples are indeed cornerstones of the Danish diet, to think that's all there is to it would be a culinary sin of the highest order. In the early 2000s, a quiet revolution began in the kitchens of Copenhagen, one that would not only transform Denmark's gastronomic reputation, but also change the way the entire world thinks about food. This movement was New Nordic cuisine, and its temple was the now legendary restaurant Noma. Spearheaded by chefs like René Redzepi and Claus Meyer, the philosophy was both simple and radical: to explore the full potential of local, seasonal, and foraged ingredients from the Nordic region. Forget olive oil and tomatoes from the Mediterranean. This was about celebrating what was right outside their door. Ingredients that had been overlooked for generations, things like sea buckthorn, wild mushrooms, local herbs, and even ants were suddenly the stars of the show. The focus was on purity, freshness, and a deep connection to the landscape. Noma's success was meteoric. It was crowned the world's best restaurant multiple times, and suddenly, Copenhagen was the epicenter of the culinary universe. Food lovers from around the globe flocked to Denmark, not for storybook castles, but for a reservation at a restaurant that served dishes that were as much about intellectual curiosity as they were about flavor. This movement wasn't just about one restaurant. It inspired a generation of Danish chefs and had a ripple effect across the entire food system. There was a renewed pride in Danish produce, a surge in organic farming, and a greater awareness of sustainability. But you don't need a Michelin-starred budget to experience the delights of Danish food. The soul of Danish cuisine can be found in its everyday pleasures. Start with the smørrebrød, the classic open-faced sandwich. This is not just a slice of bread with something on top, it's an art form. A base of dense, buttered rye bread is elaborately topped with combinations like pickled herring and onions, rare roast beef with crispy shallots and remoulade, or tiny shrimp piled high with lemon and dill. Then there is the sinful indulgence of Danish pastries, known to the world as danishes, but called wienerbrød, Vienna bread, in Denmark. These flaky, buttery, multi-layered creations, filled with cream, fruit, or marzipan, are a national obsession and the perfect accompaniment to a cup of coffee. And for a true taste of the street, you cannot leave Denmark without trying a pels, or hot dog, from a pelsevogn, hot dog wagon. The classic version comes with a variety of toppings: ketchup, mustard, remoulade, chopped onions, and crispy fried onions. It's a humble but deeply satisfying national icon. From the world's most innovative restaurants to the simplest street-side snack, modern Danish food is a story of rediscovery and pride. It's a cuisine that has embraced its roots while fearlessly looking to the future, proving that even the most traditional pantry can spark a global revolution. Number 11. The world's oldest crown. A monarchy in a modern age. In a country as fiercely modern, democratic, and egalitarian as Denmark, the existence of a monarchy might seem like a quaint and contradictory relic of a bygone era. Yet, the Danish monarchy is not just surviving, it is thriving. In fact, it holds the Guinness World Record as the oldest continuous monarchy in the world, with an uninterrupted line stretching back over 1,000 years to the Viking king Gorm the Old in the 10th century. This incredible longevity in such a progressive nation is one of Denmark's most fascinating paradoxes. Today, the Danish monarch, currently King Frederik X, holds no political power. Denmark is a constitutional monarchy, meaning the government is run by the democratically elected parliament, the Folketing. The king's role is almost entirely ceremonial. He officially appoints the government after an election, receives foreign ambassadors, and acts as the nation's foremost diplomat and symbol of unity. Yet, to dismiss the role as purely symbolic would be to misunderstand its deep significance in the Danish psyche. The monarchy acts as a living link to Denmark's long and dramatic history. The royal palaces, like the magnificent Amalienborg Palace in Copenhagen, the royal family's winter residence, are not just tourist attractions, they are tangible symbols of national heritage. The daily changing of the guard at Amalienborg is a beloved tradition, a spectacle of precision and history that draws crowds of locals and tourists alike. The royal family is the custodian of the nation's story, a constant in a rapidly changing world. The Danish royal family has managed to achieve something remarkable. They have modernized without losing their mystique. They are seen as being relatively down to earth. It's not uncommon to hear stories of royal family members cycling through Copenhagen or doing their own shopping. This accessibility has endeared them to the public and allowed them to remain relevant in a society that values authenticity and distrusts hierarchy. They are not seen as divine rulers, but as dedicated public servants who represent the best of Danish values on the world stage. Their role in diplomacy is crucial. When a Danish royal goes on a state visit, they open doors for Danish businesses and culture that no politician could. They are the face of brand Denmark, promoting everything from Danish design and green technology to social causes. The current King Frederik X and Queen Mary are particularly popular, admired for their active involvement in issues like sustainability and public health, which resonates strongly with modern Danish values. In a sense, the monarchy's survival is the ultimate testament to Danish pragmatism. They have stripped the institution of its sinful autocratic power, but have retained its valuable symbolic function. The monarch is a figurehead who stands above the political fray, representing the entire nation, not just a single party or ideology. In an age of divisive politics, having a symbol of unity that connects the deep past with the present is a treasure that the Danes, it seems, are not willing to give up. Number 12. A land of quirky customs and sinful strangeness. Beyond the sleek design and progressive politics, Denmark is a country brimming with quirky, mind-blowing customs that can seem utterly bizarre to an outsider. These traditions, born from centuries of history and folklore, reveal a playful, humorous, and sometimes downright strange side to the Danish character. Some of these customs are so peculiar, they might even seem sinfully weird. Take for instance the Danish approach to birthdays, specifically unmarried ones. If you are a Dane and you find yourself unmarried on your 25th birthday, prepare for a public and very messy ordeal. Your friends and family will ambush you and douse you from head to toe in cinnamon. It's a tradition that is taken very seriously, and the more cinnamon, the better. The historical roots are murky, but it's thought to relate to the spice traders of centuries past who were often traveling and remained bachelors. And it doesn't stop there. If you're still unmarried at 30, the cinnamon is upgraded to pepper. It's a humorous, if slightly brutal, social ritual to remind you that time is ticking. Another strange tradition is fastelavn, which can be described as a sort of Danish Halloween. Children dress up in costumes, but instead of trick-or-treating, they participate in a ritual called hitting the cat out of the barrel, slagkatten. A wooden barrel, decorated with images of a black cat and filled with candy, is hung up, and the children take turns hitting it with a bat until it breaks open. The one who knocks down the last piece of the barrel is crowned the Queen of Cats, and the one who breaks it open is the King of Cats. While today it's a fun game, its origins are much darker. In medieval times, a live black cat, believed to embody evil spirits, was actually placed inside the barrel to be beaten, as a way to ward off evil for the coming year. Even Danish law has its share of peculiarities. There's a widely cited old law that states before starting your car, you must check underneath it to ensure no children are sleeping there. While it's unlikely to be enforced today, it speaks to a deep-seated concern for safety. Another famous Danish peculiarity surrounds the naming of children. Parents can't just name their child whatever they want. There is an official list of approved names, and if you want to choose a name that isn't on the list, you have to apply for special permission from the government. This is to protect children from being given names that might cause them ridicule later in life. And then there's the midsummer celebration, Sankt Hans Aften. On this night, communities all over Denmark gather for massive bonfires. But what shocks many foreigners is that on top of the bonfire, there is often an effigy of a witch. As the fire roars, the witch is burned, a symbolic act to ward off evil spirits, rooted in the dark history of the European witch hunts. It's a jarring sight in such a modern, rational country, a powerful reminder of the deep layers of folklore and superstition that still linger just beneath the surface of Danish life. These traditions, from the comical to the slightly macabre, are what give Denmark its unique and unforgettable flavor. Number 13. The price of paradise, the sinful cost of living. We've explored Denmark's incredible social benefits, its high quality of life, and its reputation for happiness. But as we've hinted, this Scandinavian paradise comes with a price tag, and for many visitors and even residents, the cost can be downright sinful. Denmark, and Copenhagen in particular, consistently ranks as one of the most expensive places to live and travel in the world. The dream of a Danish lifestyle often collides with the harsh reality of a very empty wallet. For a tourist, the financial shock can begin the moment you land. A simple pint of beer in a Copenhagen bar can set you back €7, €10. A casual meal for one person at a modest restaurant can easily cost €20, €30. And if you're tempted by the city's famed Michelin-starred scene, be prepared for bills that soar into the hundreds of euros per person. Even a quick breakfast at a local cafe can run you €7, €10 for a coffee and a pastry. That high 25% VAT on everything you buy means there are very few bargains to be found. The mantra for budget travelers in Denmark is simple: the supermarket is your best friend. Accommodation is another major expense. A bed in a shared hostel dorm room might cost €30, €50 per night, a rate that would get you a private mid-range hotel room in many other European capitals. A standard, no-frills hotel room in Copenhagen will likely start around €120, €180. These prices force many travelers to stay in neighborhoods further from the city center, like Nørrebro or Vesterbro, to find more affordable options. Transportation, however, offers a slight reprieve. Copenhagen's public transport system is incredibly efficient, with a 24-hour metro that makes expensive late-night taxis unnecessary. A 24-hour pass covering buses, trains, and the metro costs around €10. But the truly Danish and most cost-effective way to get around is by bicycle. Copenhagen is one of the most bike-friendly cities in the world, and renting a bike for about €15, €20 a day is not only economical but also the best way to experience the city like a local. So, what does a typical day cost? A budget traveler, staying in hostels, eating street food or from supermarkets, and using public transport, can expect to spend around 80 euros, 100 euros per day. A mid-range traveler, opting for a modest hotel and a few restaurant meals, will likely spend closer to 150 euros, 250 euros per day. This high cost of living is the ultimate barrier to entry for many who dream of visiting. Why is everything so expensive? It's a direct consequence of the Danish welfare model. High wages for workers, a high tax burden on businesses, and a high standard of living all contribute to the inflated prices. The Danes accept this as the cost of their social contract. For them, it's a fair price to pay for security and equality. But for a visitor on a limited budget, the price of paradise can feel like a punishment, a constant reminder that the good life in Denmark is anything but cheap. Is it a sin to be so expensive? Perhaps not, but it's certainly a painful reality. Number 14. Cracks in the facade. The darker side of Danish society. No society is a perfect utopia, not even one that consistently ranks as the happiest on earth. Beneath Denmark's polished exterior of social trust, equality, and hygge, there are darker, more challenging undercurrents that the country is actively grappling with. These are the societal sins that are often invisible to the casual tourist, but are part of the complex reality of modern Danish life. One of the most significant challenges is the issue of immigration and integration. For a long time, Denmark was a remarkably homogeneous society. However, in recent decades, it has seen increasing immigration from the Middle East, Africa, and Eastern Europe. This has tested the limits of Danish tolerance and strained the social fabric. The country has struggled with how to integrate newcomers into its high-trust, culturally specific society. This has led to the rise of heated political debates and some of the strictest immigration policies in Europe. Controversial laws, such as one that allowed for the confiscation of assets from asylum seekers to pay for their upkeep, have drawn international criticism. Neighborhoods with high concentrations of immigrants in cities like Copenhagen are sometimes referred to as ghettos, and there are ongoing social tensions related to cultural differences, religion, and economic opportunities. This ties into another complex issue: a subtle but persistent undercurrent of systemic discrimination. While overt racism is rare, people of color and those with non-Danish sounding names often report difficulties in the job market and housing market. The strong emphasis on conformity and the unwritten social rules of Danish culture can make it incredibly difficult for outsiders to truly feel like they belong. Even the relationship with its own territories, Greenland and the Faroe Islands, is colored by the legacy of colonialism, with ongoing discussions about prejudice and the need for reconciliation for past injustices. The very success of the welfare state also creates its own set of problems. As the population ages and the cost of healthcare and pensions rises, the system is under increasing financial pressure. There are ongoing debates about how to maintain the generous benefits that Danes have come to expect. Some argue that the high level of benefits can, in some cases, reduce the incentive to work, a point that mainstream economic theory often raises against such models. While Denmark has been very successful at keeping unemployment low, there are concerns that the safety net, if not carefully managed, could face significant challenges in the future. Finally, the immense pressure to conform, driven by the culture of janteloven, can be a heavy burden. The societal expectation to be normal, to fit in, and to not cause a fuss, can stifle creativity and individuality. This, combined with the pressure to be happy, can create a society that is comfortable and safe, but also one that can feel emotionally restrictive. These are not the sins of a failed state, but the complex, nuanced challenges of a highly successful one. They are the cracks in the fairy tale facade, a reminder that even in the land of happiness, there are still shadows to contend with. Number 15. Travel tips and final verdict on a sinful kingdom. So, after our journey through this land of Vikings, hygge, and mind-blowing contradictions, what is the final verdict? Is Denmark truly a sinful country? The answer, like Denmark itself, is not simple. If by sin you mean a society that embraces individual liberty, legalized acts that others condemn, and forged its identity through fierce Viking raids, then perhaps it is. But if you see a nation built on trust, equality, and a profound commitment to the collective good, the label seems absurd. Denmark is a country that forces you to question your own definitions of right and wrong, of freedom and responsibility. For those planning to visit this fascinating kingdom, here are some essential travel tips to navigate its unique culture. First, embrace the bike. Copenhagen is a city designed for two wheels. Renting a bike isn't just a cheap way to get around, It's the most authentic way to experience the city's rhythm. Second, be prepared for the cost. As we've discussed, Denmark is expensive. Save money by visiting food markets like Nyhavn for delicious street food, drinking tap water, it's clean and free, and booking accommodation well in advance, especially in summer. When it comes to social etiquette, remember the rule of punctuality. Danes see being on time as a sign of respect, and arriving even 10 minutes late is considered inconsiderate. Don't be alarmed by their directness or the lack of the word please. It's not rudeness, it's cultural efficiency. A sincere thank you, will go a long way. And while you're there, try to experience true hygge. Don't just rush from one tourist site to the next. Take time to sit in a cozy cafe with a candle lit, enjoy a long conversation, and simply be present in the moment. Be aware of the quirky laws. It's illegal to take photos of certain government buildings, and using a photo of the Little Mermaid statue for commercial purposes can land you in trouble with the sculptor's protective family. Always ask for permission before taking close-up photos of people. And if you visit Freetown, Christiania, respect their rules, especially the strict prohibitions on photography in certain areas. Ultimately, Denmark is a land of fascinating dualities. It is ancient and hyper-modern, rebellious and orderly, cozy and starkly minimalist. It's a society that has achieved a remarkable level of comfort and security, but continues to wrestle with the pressures that come with it. The sins of Denmark are, in many ways, simply the bold choices of a nation that has never been afraid to forge its own path, whether on a Viking longship or in the halls of social policy. It's a country that doesn't offer easy answers, but instead, a wealth of thought-provoking questions. What was the most surprising fact you learned about Denmark? Would you be willing to pay their high taxes for their social benefits? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing your thoughts. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Denmark. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to James Baker, Discovery Global, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.